Folks, welcome back. One of the friends of this program is Americans for Prosperity. They have a number of initiatives. The head of one of those things, the LIBRE initiative, is with us today. His name is Daniel Garza. Welcome, Daniel, to this program.
What a pleasure, Eric. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity to be on with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about what you're working on. Where do we start? Tell my audience exactly what is the Libre Initiative of which you're the president.
Yeah, well, very simply, the LIBRE Initiative is holding conversations across the country, honest conversations with the Latino community on what are those policies and who are those politicians who are generating prosperity, and what are those policies and politicians who are driving us towards dependency, towards poverty. And just, let's have that conversation. And so it turns out most of the time, the folks on the center right happen to be right.
Now, it's interesting to me because I think that, I know we're living through a political earthquake in America where a lot of people who have traditionally tacked left or who have traditionally voted Democrat just because that's kind of their tribal identification. I think of my in-laws. They were like FDR Democrats. We always vote Democrat. That has been changing. And obviously, in the 2024 election, President Trump made dramatic inroads into the Latino community, in the Black community. What do you think it is that is making those who traditionally would go left in an unthinking way suddenly say, I may have been wrong. I need to rethink this. What do you think brought that about?
Well, on the one hand, you have the left that have lost their senses, who have now been following or singing to the tune of the radical left with their woke agenda, their anti-growth agenda, anti-energy agenda. And that, of course, is a big deal for Texans, especially Latinos in energy states, by the way. That matters. It's that they're turning the traditional roles of men and women topsy-turvy. They seem to have lost their moral compass, and this antagonism against the free market system. That's why Latinos came to America, because of the American dream. That the America's founding charters made it possible to have freedom, and that freedom drove prosperity. And if we were willing to work hard and take risks in the free market, that we could make it in America. And that's exactly what happened. More people realized their aspirations and their dreams in America than anywhere else in the world because of our freedoms, because of the free market system. But that's what they attack. And so I think they've rejected what has been offered, what the left has been trying to sell lately, and are looking to the center right and saying, okay, pro-energy makes sense to me. Less taxes so I can keep more of their money makes sense to me. A pro-growth agenda where businesses thrive and succeed makes sense to me. The traditional family and what it does as a keystone to society, I want to honor that. I want to keep that. And so I think on the one hand, radical policies have distanced them from the Democrat Party, and common sense policies have driven them to the Republican Party.
Well, what I keep saying is the left has increasingly become radical. In other words, they maybe even when they've been radical in the past, they've been able to hide it. But something has happened. I think the advent of Trump principally has pushed them to come out of the closet for things that once you hear it, you go, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. And so I think that's part of it. And I think what goes along with it is that simply over time, you're able finally to see the fruit of those policies. In other words, it's one thing to say, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. At some point, people say, wait a minute, it's been decades. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. So in a way, because things got so bad, particularly I think under Joe Biden, a lot of people were simply open to looking elsewhere. I mean, that's my theory.
100%. I mean, they saw what happened at the border. Look, people are not anti-immigrant. They are anti-chaos. and lawlessness. And that's exactly what was happening. We want immigrants to come in and to strengthen America and to bring their industry and their energy and their innovative capacities. But when it's done where we're not properly vetting who is coming in, we are not keeping out those who want to do us harm. People are going to react to that. And Latinos, just like their fellow Americans, are going to react adversely to that. When you're soft on crime, when the victim no longer gets justice, that's a problem. When government has grown so big, so large, that it is now usurping the role of the church, the family, it's usurping the role of the marketplace, people are going to react to that viscerally. This is a free country with free people. And we're starting to see way too much of our freedoms. Freedom of speech is under attack. And so you're seeing Latinos react to this viscerally. And that's why I think that they're shifting their allegiances.
If people go to the website I have in front of me here, what will they find? It's protectprosperity.com. Is that a Libre Initiative a website or just Americans for Prosperity? What is that website? Protectprosperity.com.
Yeah. It's a collaboration between Libre and Americans for Prosperity, and we're talking to Americans across the country that it is going to be critical. It's important that we make permanent those tax cuts that President Trump instituted in his first term. 80% of Latino voters say their taxes are already too high. 4 in 5 Latino voters are saying it is a bad time to increase taxes. We cannot go backward. I mean, this is a time in our country that's an inflection point. We're either going to embrace productivity or are we going to go backward and become a backward country, where again, we centralize more power, more money, more control in the hands of politicians in Washington, D.C., who more and more are controlling our behavior. We need to reject that, and we need to push back on that. And so I think, making the tax cuts permanent is a keystone to that.
There's no doubt about it. And it's why I'm a fan of Americans for Prosperity. And why I'm glad to hear about the Libre Initiative. Daniel Garza, thanks for being my guest. Folks, if you want to know more, go to protectprosperity.com. That's protectprosperity.com. Daniel Garza, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.